The future of Titanfall hangs in the balance, and by that I mean it looks like future Titanfall plans are not going to be happening anytime soon. I doubt 2019, 2020, and maybe not even 2021. An update from the Apex Legends team brought us some new information. Drew McCoy, the executive producer over at Apex Legends, wrote a pretty detailed update. This is starting to come on the heels of some more negative news stories about Apex Legends. While they quickly grew to 50 million players in their first month, I'm sure you guys, if you watch a lot of Apex on YouTube, have seen quite a few trending videos talking about the decline of Apex Legends, stating that the Season 1 Battle Pass was pretty lackluster, the pace of updates is a little bit too slow, and citing that the Twitch viewership is on the decline quite quickly. A lot of the sponsored streamers, once they left the scene, you didn't have this stopping force and, top 3 games on Twitch for the next 3 months kind of a thing. It didn't hold its it game spot for that long, which we'll talk about here in a second. But the update that Drew put out really goes into a lot of updates and just an honest address to the fan base about what's going on moving forward. First of all, it's very clear that Apex Legends was overwhelmed with the amount of growth that came from the game. I don't think they expected hitting 50 million players within the first month. And as such, I don't think their team has been able to meet the challenges and demands of becoming that it game, becoming on the platform, at least when it launched, of comparisons to a Fortnite, which is getting continual updates. In this update, they talk about addressing issues that have been plaguing the game since the very beginning. Slow server performance at the start of a match, the audio issues, cheaters. I think they just banned 770,000 cheaters in Apex. It's pretty ridiculous, man, how many cheaters there are in Apex. I guess Source Games, that can be an issue. Hit registration problems that they're also working on. I'm going to quote here from Drew. Over the next few weeks, we'll talk more about the work that's being done in these areas to provide updates about when we'll be addressing them in future patches. We know that, in addition to addressing issues with the game, everyone is hungry for us to add new content. The studio culture that we've worked hard to cultivate and the health of our team are very important. We take those things into account when we discuss our content roadmap, the production schedule, and the frequency in which we can update the game. Our long-term goal is to ensure Apex Legends always feels alive and thriving with a focus on quality content over novelty or speed of release. At the same time, we want to maintain our culture as a development team and avoid crunch that can quickly lead to burnout or worse. At launch, we shared a high-level view of our roadmap, showcasing how we would be taking a seasonal approach to a live service. Today, we want to provide more clarity on what you can expect for content and update cadence in the future. This does relate to Titanfall. Stick with me, guys, at the very end of this update. He talks about how they're going to focus on a new battle pass, a new legend, new meta, updates throughout the season, and improved communication. Here we go. Lastly, and I quote, regarding other games in development at Respawn, it is important to understand that there are entirely separate development teams working on Apex Legends and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Additionally, in order to fully support Apex Legends, we are pushing out plans for future Titanfall games. No resources from the Apex Legends team are being shifted to other titles in development here at the studio, nor are we pulling resources from the team working on Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. We know we have a lot of work ahead of us, but we're up to the challenge and are looking forward to building Apex to its full potential together with our players. So here's the deal. The Apex team was the Titanfall team, and it garnered a huge amount of success when it launched, right? Got massive. On the day of Apex Legends reveal, Vince Zampella told fans through Twitter, don't worry, we have plans for future Titanfall things in the works. During the Q1 investment earnings call for EA, it was also confirmed that there would be a premium Titanfall something later this year. It would seem that has now changed. It looks like Respawn is in a situation where they are very overwhelmed with the amount of work they need for Apex Legends. It is quite clear to me, I love they're taking a stance to focus on a good, non-crunch quality of life work environment at Respawn. If you've been seeing the press lately, Fortnite, some of those devs are talking about working 60, 70, 80 hours a week to keep up with this insane pace. And that's not a good work culture. I do feel like there's a little shots fired, though, when they're talking about, we want our long-term goal, blah, 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 with a focus on quality of content over novelty or speed of release. Little shots fired there, novelty or speed of release. I think they're directly looking at the Fortnite for that one. But as such, it looks like whatever resources at Respawn that were working on a Titanfall something have now been roped into working on Apex Legends. The initial thought process behind this is somebody who enjoys both Apex Legends and Titanfall 2. I enjoy Titanfall far more than Apex Legends. My initial reaction was very disappointed to hear about this because, dude, Titanfall 2 is such a great game. I've told you guys before, I like Apex, but I am fatigued with the Battle Royale genre. But the more I think about it, the more it makes total sense. If you think about the player base and the size and success of Apex Legends, and if you were the manager or whatever at the top of the studio, going, where should we properly allocate resources to maximize profit or maximize the effort for the biggest player base, it makes sense that they're focusing on Apex Legends. It's also no secret that the vibe, the sentiment has definitely changed online from players about Apex Legends, from going from the hottest of the hot, this is the greatest BR ever, did so many innovative things, it's the bestest, most best thing, to a month and a half later, tons of YouTube videos and streamers turning on the game a little bit going, hey, the battle pass was not that great, your speed of updates is kind of slow, you're not keeping up with your competitors. And it is really tough, man. I think that it game space, and by it game, I mean the top 3 or 4 titles on Twitch, to be one of those right now is brutal. Because Apex Legends is still a really great game. And by the standards that were set outside of Fortnite, the pace of updates and this ongoing kind of scene, it wouldn't be that blown out of proportion. That's a bad way to describe it, but you kind of get what I mean. Fortnite's speed of updates have really impacted everybody else trying to compete in that top space. And it's very, very hard to try and get updates out continually with the idea of new content being built behind the scenes. Games as a service is really hard, and it takes a massive amount of people and a lot of organization to make it work right. So then the future of Titanfall. I really now don't think we're probably going to see anything for Titanfall in 2019 or maybe even 2020 because of this. I'm happy for the success of Apex. However, I still want to see the Titanfall universe continue with traditional Titanfall games. I thought TF2 is one of the best shooters of the last 5 to 10 years. So that's just my 2 cents. I'd love to know what you guys have to think about it. Let me know in the comment section down below. I will say there is one more indicator that can probably give us a good sense of what is going on with Titanfall, if anything, later this year. In the investment earnings call for Q1, EA did tell their investors and shareholders that they had a premium Titanfall something coming later this year. Now that they've publicly announced that their focus is on Apex through this blog post by Drew McCoy, if the Q2 earnings call does not mention anything about that, there's going to be some issues. Anytime you're a publicly traded company, and you make an announcement saying I've got a new car coming out in Q3 this year, investors are going to get excited and probably going to position themselves accordingly around that time frame. So if they have made development changes and plan changes for this year and they're not launching any premium Titanfall thing later this year or showing it off, it's going to have to be addressed at a corporate level in that investor earnings call in Q2 in a month or 2. So we'll just have to wait and see if they address it in that, which they probably will. And again, for me personally, I am disappointed. I'm happy that Respawn is prioritizing a good work culture, that they're avoiding crunch and they want to make sure that their developers don't get burned out. I love frequency of updates in games. It's really nice. But if the standard that's being set by, teams over at Fortnite isn't achievable for other studios, I'm totally fine for them to communicate that with the player base. I think the more they can communicate that, the more leniency the players will have, or the more empathy they can have for the developers, because I don't think anybody is believing Respawn's just being lazy. I think they got way overwhelmed. I don't think anybody knew the success that Apex was going to have. And it's a double-edged sword as well. They're now getting to feel the pressure of being that number 3, 5, 6, whatever, the it game. And having players continually going, look, that Season 1 Battle Pass, very lackluster. And what's coming down the pipeline next, guys? New map, new champions, when are we going to see it? Because at this point, it does feel a little bit like there's some haze or fog on the horizon. Apex players don't really know what's coming and when. Anyway, that's the news update. I'd love to know what you think about it down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel, follow me over on Twitter at BBKDRAGOON, and make sure to hit the alarm bell. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you again very soon.